Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Right, and welcome to the RB. No, not that one this time. It's the Metro UK podcast. The British Brigade are back. Roll the titles.
You're listening to the Metro UK podcast, the home of New York Red Bulls discussion from across the pond, with your hosts Scott Humphreys and Luke Hume.
Right then, welcome to the Metro UK podcast, your number one spot for the New York Red Bulls content from across the pond. My name is Scott Humphreys, and I'm delighted to be able to say that again. I'm also joined by my very dear friend and very long-term co-host, Luke Hume. How are we, my friend?
Good. It's horrible weather here. It is absolutely pouring it down here. So I guess we're British podcasts, so we've got to part with British weather. But is it too much arts for LA weather all year round?
That'd be
I don't
nice.
think it should be too much at art school, but I think it is too much at art school.
Somehow I agree with you. How nice is this, though? How nice is this to be back? It's very nice to be talking to you, Luke.
It's great to be back. It's great to be talking Red Bulls. We had a bit of a quiet off season. We haven't done anything. It's good to be talking about. There's not much to talk about because we don't know anything really about pre-season. But to talk about what we do know about is fantastic to be back.
Absolutely. We are delighted that later on in the show we are going to be joined by none other than Red Bull legend, Red Bull hero, Red Bull God and Messiah, Garry Redman. We're very, very excited to be talking to him. But first, right, you probably are wondering, it's a bit of a change, a bit different. New Twitter account, new name, new logo, same faces.
Yeah, we should probably address the elephant in the room, shouldn't we? Probably address the elephant in the room, or the bull in the room.
Bosh. No. Some big changes this time. Luke, do you want to go into why things have moved around?
So things have changed a bit. Let's put it quite bluntly how it is. So, as we previously did a podcast called RBNY UK with Ronnie. And Ronnie wants to take you in a different direction, which is great. It's great what he's doing with Anthony and focusing on a wider scope on just New York Red Bulls. But for me and Scott, that's not what we want particularly interested in. Like, we'll be quite honest, we don't particularly follow other Red Bull teams. We might quickly look up the scores now and again or the league tables, but we don't know. Simply put, we don't have enough knowledge to talk about them. So it makes quite awkward doing a podcast about them when you don't know anything about them. So we just thought we all went our separate ways. He's doing that ranting, which is fantastic. Good luck to him, which is our new project, talking about the Red Bulls. That's how I love Red Bulls.
We're really grateful to the step up we had with RBNY UK. Obviously, I haven't my voice and my face hasn't been attached to that show for quite a while. Again, everything down really to creative differences. But we are really pleased to be back on it, and we are really excited that now you've got two podcasts coming from this side of the pond that will give you all your Red Bulls news, which is really fantastic. Luke, we've sort of got the band back together as well, haven't we, on this side? Do you want to just explain a bit of that?
It's like with GIF. We get the band back together. That's what it's like at the moment. So we've got pretty much anyone who previously did stuff with that at RBNY UK, and that's for multiple reasons. People had different things. People had different things in life. Get stepped away. We've got them back together. Ed is back. You might remember Ed. I think he did one video with me. But he was a lot more involved behind the scenes at RBNY UK. He's back in. He actually made the logo on the background you can see right now. If you listen to us watching us on YouTube. If you're not watching on YouTube, go and watch it on YouTube. You can see our awesome background. So he's back. We got Jamie back. Jamie's a fantastic writer. He did a bit for us when we did a bit of writing for RBNY UK. He's now back. Is that everyone?
Yeah, for now.
I'll keep up with it. I'll keep up with it.
No. It's exciting. It's been a mad few days, hasn't it? Really, sort of
Been mad couple of
starting
days.
with Luke and I have been discussing this for on and off for
Oh,
a couple of weeks now. Haven't we? I think
yeah,
really.
it's not that.
Few
Yeah, probably
conversations.
a bit more than that.
Say it again, mate.
Probably a bit more than that, possibly a month or
To
so,
be honest,
maybe.
yeah, it's probably been a bit longer than that. But I think
Like,
seriously, the last couple of weeks we've really honed in, and now we're really excited to sort of be moving forward under our new
yeah,
name and new identity. Right, okay. So instructions and all
yeah.
the
The ball out of the room.
jazz out the way. Let's get on. Pre-season. So pre-season this year has been a bit bizarre, really. Now, New York Red Bulls are synonymous, really, for giving us very little generally from the front office. We sort of have to work quite hard to get what we get. But pre-season's always been different. We've always had plenty of videos, plenty of sort of match reviews. We've been given a lot of information surrounding pre-season. This year we've had absolutely nothing.
No.
It's been pretty much a media blackout from the club, and we've had to rely on Twitter sleuths and people from outside the club to give us information on new signings, on games, on results, on goal scorers. I know for a fact that Lakinos, our new signing, people realised that he was definitely coming when they found out on Instagram that he was following some things to do in New York in Portuguese Instagram pages. So it's quite interesting the way that we've had to go about things this year. I don't know whether to be excited about the fact that we know very little or a bit scared. I think it could really tip either. How are you feeling about it all, Luke?
I mean, well, put it this way: if after 10 games we're 10 games unbeaten, it's a great stroke of it by the front of it. But after 10 games in, we've not won any games, we should be very worried because it gave away. I mean, I don't think we're much worse than last year, but we don't really know. No one really knows yet. You wait and see. What we have played, I don't think preseason these days are not about results anymore. That's the thing. Preseason is all about fitness nowadays.
Yeah.
We see that everywhere now, and that's the truth, unfortunately.
No, absolutely. You can't really look too closely at results, especially with teams over in the US who tend to play their friendlies or scrimmages, however you want to refer to them, for like 60 minutes or 30 minutes, or they play some really bizarre lengths. Sometimes we have two friendlies in one day, so it's very up and down. You can't really take a lot from it based on results. So the preseason schedule sort of kicked off in Florida with a game that was postponed due to COVID against Florida Gulf Coast University. So no result there. Following that, we played our. I mean, I'm not quite sure why, but our very noisy neighbours all of a sudden they're making a lot of noise.
Why?
Might be something to do with the fact that they still haven't got a stadium. I'm not quite sure. Anything else?
It might be the one I messed up. Actually, that could get big. That's just a guess. Could be.
I think, you know what, Luke. I think I've completely taken that out of my brain. So I don't. As far as I'm concerned, that never happened.
No.
But no, we lost 3-1 with the only goal from the New York Red Bulls coming from Zach Ryan, newly signed academy player. Then we played a short scrimmage against the USA MNT under 20s that ended 0-0. Luke, do you want to go over the next set?
Yes, then we went to Coachella. Unfortunately, not the music festival. Unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame. That would have been better than this. We went to
It would certainly be better than the results, wouldn't it? I suppose.
Yeah. We went to the Coachella Valley Invitational, which is the first ever one. We haven't won a single game, which is not ideal. We had a 1-1 draw against DC with the best striker in the world scoring in Tom Barlow.
Tom Barlow, we love Tom Barlow here.
I've never seen anything better than Tom Barlow.
Nope.
There
was a guy called Luke Hume who used to work on RBNY UK who didn't like him, but the guy here at Metro UK absolutely loves.
Oh, he's a second choice striker this year.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Then we lost 2-1 to the Galaxy. Mullins with the only goal of the game there. So another defeat. And then we had a 6-1 defeat against LAFC. We actually went 1-0 up in this game. 1-0 up. Kamala scored a PK. I can't remember who actually got fouled now. I think it might
It
have
was
been
Fernandez. Amir Fernandez got fouled.
What Lewis Morgan for some reason.
No, Fernandez
Okay,
went well.
Fernandez.
Yeah.
So that was a 6-1 defeat. Not a great way to end your pre-season, but it is pre-season at the end of the day, so we shouldn't look too much into these results. I mean, the last time, it's not important to us, the last time we lost all the didn't win a single game in pre-season. Do you want to get to what year that was, Scott?
Go on then, Luke, tell me.
2018.
Oh, that's a good year.
A year we won the Sporting
Very
Shield.
good year.
A best year. Oh, best year I've had Sporting reports.
Me too, 100%.
Incredible. Incredible.
Right, so looking at pre-season, really, I think the main talking point on my side of things are the fact that we've only scored 4 goals, 5 games, 4 goals, one of which is from the spot, and then 2 of which are from 2 younger guys who won't
Well,
really.
not going to be involved, are they? They're going to be in the twos.
No, they're not going to be involved in the first team. So then, I mean, you're looking at a Patrick Kamala penalty, and you're looking at a Tom Barlow goal against DC, which was converted very well. I did see that in a video that the club posted the other day. Goals going to be an issue this year, Luke?
You'd hope not. Goals were an issue last year. That's the thing. Defensively, we were one of the best teams in the league. I said last year we have an Emirates Cup winning defense and a bottom team offense, and it's true. We're going to lead 33 goals, I think, last season.
33 goals.
It's bloody good in the MLS season.
Yeah.
We've only scored 37 goals, which is not good. We need to be scoring more goals. And Patrick Kamala is going to be a lone striker this year, by the look of it. So we're relying a lot on the midfield players. And at the moment, our second striker is Tom Barlow. Which let's hope we have someone else come in.
30 goals this season, I can guarantee it.
This is a breakthrough year.
This is the year. Brian White, Aaron Long, all of these guys sort of came from nowhere and turned up. Brian White now scoring goals for Vancouver. Aaron Long, when he's not injured, absolutely best defender in the division. Yeah. So let's hope that this is Tom Barlow's year.
It may happen eventually. Surely
we'll see. Either that or he'll be playing down at a USL team by this time next year. We'll see.
Yes.
Right. So in terms of the squad, we've made a couple of additions this year. The squad's not been completely overrun by new players because some of the signings that we've made are players that were here last season, which is nice for a bit of continuity. And then we've added a bit of quality here and there. Looking through the additions, the first player that we signed this season is Carlos Cornell, signed permanently following a loan from Red Bull Salzburg. We don't know the fee for that. Now, Cornell was last year's player of the season, played 34 games, conceded 33 goals, which is less than a goal a game, which is fantastic, and managed to get 13 clean sheets. What a huge bit of business this is, Luke.
It's a fantastic bit of business. And it's always when Lewis Robles departed the club, we always knew we were going to struggle for a while to find that keeper. And we did try. That first year after Lewis Robles went, we had that. You had Ryan Mera, you had Jensen. Neither of them really stepped up to the plate for me. And I know a lot of people felt that Ryan Mera should be the man. To Robles' length. It hasn't worked out for him. He's a great professional. He's pretty much sat on the bench a long time under Lewis Robles. Being deputy to Lewis Robles is like, why bother turning up, really? Because you're not going to play unless you get injured. No. And now Carlos Cornell was ever present last year. So he's a great person to have in the team. But Carlos Cornell shows the quality he has last season. And with that defence again, and it's better this year. I think last time you think of the defences we had last season. We didn't have a fit centre back for most of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So I think might have to do with Aaron Long and Sean Ellis at the heart of defence. It's quite exciting, I think.
No, it's fantastic. Really, really great bit of business. Following the signing of Carlos Coronel, we were able to bring in Lewis Morgan. Lewis Morgan has signed from Inter Miami for $1.2 million in GAM. He, in his Inter Miami career, he's played 57 games, managed 7 goals and 12 assists, including 2 goals and 4 assists last season. I think the big talking point with Lewis Morgan is his position. Now, Lewis Morgan is traditionally a wide player, but Struber's sort of traditionally not used to playing wide players. There's a lot of talk that he will play a wing back to replace pre another player signing, which we'll talk about later, to replace Kyle Duncan at right back. But that now looks to be a spot that's been filled. The left back position, I'd find it very difficult to take out John Tolkien. So, perhaps there's a change in formation, or does Lewis Morgan partner Patrick Kamala up front? There's lots and lots of different options.
Lots of things. Maybe play him in almost like a shadow striker role. Yeah. There's lots of possibilities, and I think we'll start to see that. We might see a few matches being played over the first 3 games where we get the grip of it, but it's an interesting one. Obviously, 1.2 GAM is quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
There's no secret about it. Inter Miami, but the finances are not the best because they do weird stuff like have too many DPs and 10-1 to the reserve team, and it's bizarre. But that was aspiring. 1.2 with GAM was aspiring. That's why we did that super draft and paid loads of money to get top spot. Was it 7th spot, whatever it was?
Yeah.
So Slogan Gun was aspiring to spend it all, and he's a good addition to the squad, I feel.
I mean, Lewis Morgan's career trajectory has been a very interesting one. He started off at St Mirren and managed to get a move to Celtic. Obviously, when you are a Scottish player that plays in the SPL and you get that move to one of the two old firm clubs, it tends to go one or two ways. For him, he ended up going out on loan to Sunderland and played under Jack Ross. Jack Ross was the guy who knew him from previous SPFL games. Jack Ross played him quite well in League One, but unfortunately they lost out in the playoffs. He went back to Celtic before getting the move out to Inter Miami. I think initially it might have been a loan, and following that it was a permanent transfer.
Can you imagine moving from Scotland without going to Miami?
No. I mean, there are not many. I reckon Lewis Morgan is a player that in a couple of years' time we'll have in pub quizzes. This player played Celtic, Sunderland, Inter Miami, and New York Red Bulls. I think that's going to be something that a lot of people are going to really, really struggle with. He's still very, very young, relatively. He's had a really successful start to his MLS career, and I'm particularly excited about his signing, wearing the number 10 shirt for us this year. Another signing, a name that's very well known to Red Bull fans, Dylan Nealis, brother of Sean, signed permanently from Nashville for $125,000 in GAM. Again, links up with his brother Sean. He's another defender. He's played 4 games for Nashville, getting 1 goal. He was at Inter Miami the year before. What do you think of Dylan Nealis as a bit of squad depth?
That's what he is, isn't he? He's a squad depth. I think they probably hopefully learnt from last year when we had no squad depth at centre back. He's not going to play many games. He's not on a senior contract. He's not going to take much money. He's basically like a Salzizo. He's not on much money. He can play in number of positions, and he's cheap. That's basically what he is to this Red Bull team. Really, he can step in and do a job when need be.
I was quite impressed with the little video that the club played the other day with him telling John Tolkien that he didn't touch him, having just dragged him to the floor. That was quite exciting. But no, following that, a young player, Jesus Castellano, signed for an undisclosed fee from, and I don't want to get this wrong, Yarakianos, I'm going to go with.
We
He's
don't know
played
much about him,
games for
really,
the
do
club.
we?
I personally don't know too much about the
No, we
lad.
don't either.
But again, another exciting addition for the twos, I would imagine.
I imagine so.
Next up, the return of the kid. He's back. Caden Clark signs on loan from Red Bull Leipzig until December 2022, with an option to go as far as December 23. Last season, he managed 31 games, 6 goals and 5 assists for the club, despite a gap in the season for an operation. Caden's end to the campaign wasn't quite the same as Caden's start to the campaign. The injury definitely had an effect on him. But what a coup to get this boy back. I mean, I'm particularly excited to see him have hopefully a full campaign for the club this year.
I mean, it's good to get him back. With Blava, we had to go through to get him back. He needs to have a good season because it will basically get your own player back. What you have to do in MLS is silly, but it is what it is. Like, it was one of our players. Hopefully, have a bit more consistent season because last season he had 4 goals in about the first 6-7 weeks. He didn't score a game. And he was really a shadow on his former self, I'm sad to say. But he was kind of starting to become a bit more alive, and that's in the tail end of the season. So hopefully this season, with a full season, playing more games, he can really get going. And hopefully we've got options for him next year. So who knows, we might have him next year as well. But I think that's more down so don't go through all this palaver again if we want to keep him next year, I imagine.
Out of interest, let's talk in hypotheticals here. If Jesse Marsch was still manager of Red Bull Leipzig, do we think that we would have Caden this year?
It's a tough one, isn't it? It's a very, very tough one. I would still probably say yes. So I think 2 reasons. I think Jesse Marsch would be able to tell you he's not ready. And 2, Jesse Marsch obviously used to manage here and still got a lot of love for this club. So I think he would want to help the club out as well. And it's beneficial for both parties because he's not going to be playing games at Leipzig. He can get some experience here being around people he knows. We've all seen players move too early. Mm-hmm. Freddie Adu is a prime example. So a player peaked way too early and too much pressure, and it all went crumbling down. So I think it's the right decision that Leipzig have made to keep him in New York for now.
Agreed. Agreed. Next up, our mascot, as Red Bull fans over in the UK, Tom Edwards signs on loan for the year until December 2022. There is no option to sign. There is no option to extend that loan. This is a straight 1-year loan. Last year we got 27 games for the club and 2 assists, missing the start of the season due to visa issues. Tom Edwards was fantastic last year, Luke, wasn't he?
Brilliant. He's brilliant.
Losing Kyle Duncan as well and having a real having nothing else there at right back. I think this is a fantastic option.
It's a fantastic option. He can start straight in that right back role. He can play in defence if he really needs to be again. He's going to be a good signing. And I know we feel different to this, but I still think there's a realistic opportunity he could be a permanent player here next season. But we will see. That's not to talk about now, talk about in the future.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think he will have aspirations to play over in England. And I think another positive year with the Red Bulls could see him get that move. But I would hope that we could keep hold of him a bit longer. Following that was the big bit of business this year. Lakinas, we signed him from Legia over in Poland for an undisclosed transfer fee, believed to be around £2.86 million. He is a designated player at the club. In the Polish top flight last year, he managed 15 games and 1 assist. He also managed to get 6 Champions League qualifying games, which is really exciting, with 2 goals and 7 games in the Europa League. This is a guy in the prime of his career who was playing top flight European football, was playing in European competitions, and it's got that sort of South American flair. For me, this is fantastic, exciting business. What do we think about that?
Yeah, it's a great bit of business. And it's good to see where ball finally going into that market. Like the days of MLS DPs being your former European superstars are coming to an end. I mean, some clubs still do it,
Unless you're LA Galaxy,
If it's like Galaxy,
I have to let go of that.
yeah. But the rest of the league is the league is moving away from that superstar player now. We're trying to move into its new era of younger, exciting players like your Amrons. You come in for a couple of years and you get them moved to Europe. Now, what we want, good to see Red Bulls doing that. And I think we tried it with Kaku. Didn't quite work out in the end. We all know how that ended. But the idea was there, and it's a good bit. It's a good fair bit of chunk of money. So fair play to them.
No, it's really exciting. This for me, this is a player in his prime. This is somebody that can come straight into the team, make a positive impact straight away. Positionally, he can play out wide. He can play through the middle. So it'll be really interesting to see what Struber does with him this year. Okay, last but not least, we signed a couple of players. Signed Jack McCarver from Red Bull 2.
He immediately went out on loan to Tampa Bay Roadies. So
he's gone straight away. So we'll go and get some proper grown-up big men soccer down in Tampa. So that's exciting. And then we signed Dan Elderman, Zach Ryan, and Serge Ngoma from the academy on their first pro deals. Again, the club doing what they can do to bring the young talent through. Looking at the signings that we've made, looking at the squad that we have, I think it's quite clear to see what we're missing. I think there was a gaping problem. Patrick Klimala, for me, is a fantastic striker, and we'll look at him and last year's sort of stats a little bit later on. But I think we are short. Last year to have had Klimala, Fabio, White for some of the season, and Barlow, I think that's some good MLS depth. Now we are just left with Klimala and Barlow. We are screaming out for a bit more forward power. What do you think, Luke?
Yeah, I think there will be a striker incoming. I don't think there cannot be one incoming, but I think it'll probably be in MLS still. I don't know who it will be. I don't know, but I can't see him going outside of the MLS now. I think it would have been done otherwise. So I can see him looking for someone to win MLS. It'll be interesting to see him get in because we do need one. But the thing is, it can't be much of a superstar because he's not going to play. He's on the bench. Yeah. We're going from one up top. That's the thing we'll have to work out.
Yeah, for me, a player like Tasho Akindele at Orlando would be the sort of player I'd like to bring in. Somebody who's quite happy to play a rotation role as a striker, or particularly come up as a two. But no, we'll see. But for me, yeah, it's quite clear. We are severely missing something at the striker position, and hopefully we can get one more in before the season. Just quickly going over the outs this year. We declined options on Luca Lewis, Issa Drame, Mandela Egbo, club stalwart, club hero, Danny Royer, and massive flop, Matthias Jorgensen. I think Royer with his age, I think Jorgensen with his sort of lack of.
I think it's more his attitude, wasn't it? He always had quite a bad attitude.
Yeah, I think they're quite clear. I think Royer, I'm gutted, has gone for like a club perspective, but I think it was time to sort of move on from Danny Royer. End of contracts, we lost Kyle Duncan to KV Oostende in the Belgian league. Another American going over to Europe, which is really exciting. Hopefully, he can do the business and represent New York Red Bulls in Europe. And Captain Sean Davis declined the new contract and decided to move over to the musical city of Nashville. End of loans, we didn't renew the loans of Andrew Gutman, who had a really sort of strong start to his career last year at Red Bulls. Yuba Diarra, who didn't play for New York Red Bulls, and Fabio, who generally had quite a good season, but was deemed not quite good enough to remain at the club. As we mentioned before, we loaned Jake McCarver out to Tampa Bay Rowdies. So, for me, I think the sort of three players that we can really look at here are Davis, are Duncan, and then perhaps Fabio. Fabio, as we said, the club just didn't feel like they wanted to renew the loan or make it permanent. He's gone over to Atletico Mineiro in Brazil to replace Costa, which is a little bit of a phenomenon, really. Sean Davis, the captain's curse continues. I mean, this is a very different situation to that before. Where do we go? Where do we go next for captain, and how much of a miss is Sean Davis going to be in our midfield?
I mean, I'm pretty willing to bet Long will be on it as captain. I think that's pretty nailed on. But we'll see. I think Long was a vice captain beforehand, I believe. So that seems the obvious choice. Like when Dax McCarthy left, Shatter Collection stepped out from his vice captain role. That seems the obvious solution. I think it will be a mix for Sean Davis, but I think there are players in that squad who can step up.
No, I feel the same. Sean had a really good year last year. I think he really thrived under Struber, and I think now he's been given an opportunity to try something else. Where he spent his whole career at New York Red Bulls, obviously the first homegrown captain in the club's history, and I think it's quite exciting that he now gets a new move and we get to sort of reinvent ourselves in the middle of the park a little bit more.
And what another positive to take from that is obviously his mother was quite unwell that season. And the fact he's even willing to think about moving across state shows she must be much better, which is a huge. If you take football completely out of the equation, family always come first, and people will come first. You got to imagine cost of living is so much cheaper in Nashville compared to New York. There's lots of reasons. I don't think this is as simple as a footballing reason. There's lots of layers of decisions to this. And good luck to him. He served the club really, really well. Good luck to him at Nashville. With Dax, with Alex Moyle.
Nice little Red Bull contingent out there.
Yeah.
No, so that's ins and outs looked at. Another change for New York Red Bulls this year is we've obviously had our new jersey. Our primary jersey, let me just try and work out where I am, is there behind me at the minute. We're still going to be sticking with the white with the red, but we've got a new secondary jersey, which is our second red kit. Now, those of you that are not watching, I'm wearing the last red jersey that New York Red Bulls released. For me, the best kit in the club's New York history. And for me, this comes a very, very close second. What do you think of the new kit?
I actually think the new kit tops it. I generally do. I mean, the authentic one is far better when you got to spend a bit of serious money on it. But I was looking to buy it. Now I saw international fees, and I thought, I'll wait till I go over.
We'll see.
I'll wait till I go over.
Yeah, sounds good. Looking back to last season then. So, New York Red Bulls last season finished 7th in the East, just inside the playoff spots. 48 points with a plus 6 goal difference. 1 point clear of DC United to claim that last playoff spot. In the Supporter Shield, we finished 14th overall with 13 wins, 12 defeats and 9 ties, 39 goals scored and 33 goals conceded. We lost in the first round of the MLS Cup to a 123rd minute Galesnis goal away at Philadelphia, which still stings a little bit now. Last year, generally, I think for a first year under a new regime, some big changes to the squad, and also that sort of mid-season dip in form that then toward the end of the season we really had to bring back up with a fantastic little run. You've got to be relatively pleased with how we did last year.
Yeah, I think so. I think all the pundits didn't even pick up to make a playoffs. We were 12th, 13th. And we made a playoffs, proved them wrong. And we're going. I think we'll do it again next year. Prove all the pundits wrong again. Pundits. Part of Red Bull's folklore is proving pundits wrong. 2015, they didn't pick up to make a playoffs. We won the Supporter Shield. 2018, I didn't pick up to do well. We won the Supporter Shield. It's in our blood to prove
it is what we do. Absolutely.
And I love it.
No, me too. Looking at last year as well, the top goal scorer was Patrick Klamala with 8 goals. And our top assisters was both Fabio and Klamala with 6 assists each. Looking at Patrick Klamala a little closer this year, 8 goals and 6 assists, a 14-goal contribution season. For a player who's been quite heavily knocked by sections of the sport, he didn't have a bad first year, did he?
Not a bad first year. I think he used to be a bit more clinical scoring. I think that's the issue. He missed a lot of easy chances.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he's for an introductory year. He came in late. Remember, he didn't cover pre-season with us. Came in late. I don't think there's a bad year. He got his fourth pre-season with us. He's going to be lone striker now, which is probably where he thrives. I think we could see a very, very regenerated Patrick Klamala, and we need him to be regenerated. We rely on him for goals. To put it bluntly, we rely on him.
I think you look at some players who come over to MLS, and some take a year to acclimate, to sort of get into the sort of understanding of the way it works over there. Some players, they never do acclimate. Some players hit the ground running. And I think really for a first season where he's been considered not really to have shown his full potential, I think a 14-goal contribution isn't really a bad return. I think on top of that, you look at what we've done this year in the transfer market. We bought Caden Clark, we bought Lakinas, and we bought Lewis Morgan. That there are some goal contributions there, and some assists. That's 3 players who are going to supply. Hopefully, with those 3 in behind, we'll see a very fruitful year for Patrick Klamala this year.
Yeah, I think so. And going off topic now for a bit. Do you see the last ever episode of Arthur the other day?
Of what?
Arthur. Do you remember Arthur when we were younger?
Oh, Arthur, yes. The last ever episode?
Last ever episode.
Wow.
25 years. And it was them as grown-ups. I read it earlier on Twitter. Them as grown-ups. That's quite crazy. Can you imagine one day with Simpsons finally ends? People will be crying. No, I wouldn't. But
this is what RBNY UK brings you. It brings you New York Red Bulls news and also news on your favourite childhood programmes. Fantastic. And I think on that, I think we're going to head to a break. Join us after the break, where we will be joined by Garry Redman. Right, I'll see you in a moment.
Yeah.
We are back, and we are delighted to be joined by Red Bull legend Garry Redman. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Garry.
It's 9:42 a.m. here Eastern Standard Time, so we're just getting ready into our work day. You guys are in the afternoon. Yesterday we had our show for kicking off the second season with the podcast, so getting ourselves ready for what will be the wonderful odyssey of New York Red Bull football and version 2022. So as we wait with the next 4 days to kick off on Saturday, we haven't had a media day, which is probably the biggest noise that's going on right now. We haven't had most of the folks in working media like myself haven't had a chance to talk with the team yet, but we will eventually just before the season starts. So we're just waiting for that. So, gents, welcome back. First of all, we're very excited that you guys, to say we call you guys the British branch over the other side of the pond. So very glad to see you guys flagged up. So what's going on? And as I say, let's begin.
Yeah, no, delighted to be back. Thank you, Garry. We're very, very much excited to be, as you said, looking for version 2022. On Saturday, first game of the season kicks off in San Jose. San Jose finished 21st in the Supporters' Shield last year with 10 wins, 13 defeats, and 11 ties. 46 goals scored, which was a 7-goal increase on Red Bull's 39. However, a 54-goal deficit, which left them with a -8 goal difference.
I have a graphic for this.
Oh, And Jackson.
For Sam. Barkless curls one in. Yes! The finish. Dax McCoy.
A good lie and say that video was an accident, but it wasn't. I searched that video to put it in there. So,
Of course.
Right.
What do we think, Gary? How do we think it's going to look on Saturday?
Well, the good thing about this preseason is that everyone had a few games, and when I'm looking at the rosters last night, talking over with my co-hosts Carlos Cornell and Miguel Nunez, we saw that the rosters haven't changed very much, with the exception of a few. That said, we're looking at a pretty even game right now between San Jose and New York. They pretty much built their teams with a few guys coming from the roster and a lot of homegrowns. But they're a very good side. Very good side. Don't make a mistake. When you have a team coached by Mr. Almeida, anything could go happen. Now, of course, coming into the second season with New York Red Bull, Mr. Stuber now has a sample size of what he learns to expect in MLS. Despite that, we lost a lot of key players on our side, but the team is relatively young, about 22 years age. So there is the athleticness on their side, and then the issues that I have that we spoke about was in defense, specifically on the right side. Um, uh, 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 and Aaron Long is just coming off an injury in central defense, and of course, Mr. Edwards has returned, but he won't be with us until later in the year. So it looks like the understudies are going to have to step up in their place until everyone is ready to go. Despite that, all of us are looking at a pretty a draw when it's all said and done, and we're hoping to see the thing. But I think the team will be competitive because of that youth. That's the good news. The bad news: young teams rarely win anything. So we'll see just how this team goes, especially without veteran presence and losing. Gutman was a gut punch. I hate to say that. I was hoping and praying they find a way to keep him, but Atlanta United had other ideas.
Yeah, I think with George Bello departing for Germany, I think that left a massive space in the Atlanta backline for Gutman to walk straight into. It's a real shame. What do you think our team looks like going into Saturday then, like top to bottom?
Top to bottom, I always like to start with the defense because that's what got us into the playoffs. If you remember, we started out pretty slow, started leaking goals left and right, and then they right the ship, starting off with Carlos Cornell. He basically anchored that spot. Despite Long being lost for the year, young guys like Anthony Reyes, Tolkien, Nealis, who stepped up big, who we really seen him grow before our eyes. And of course, we talked about Edwards, we talked about Kyle Martin, all stepping up wonderfully, nailing down that defense, except for maybe one game against New England. They went from they played 12 games, 7 games, won 7 of them, and that was enough to make the playoffs. This year, we're expecting the same, despite the fact they're two of the strongest guys in defense, in central defense, and in the right back, respectively, are not going to be with us for the remainder of the year. So despite that, I think defensively we're going to be fine. Monzon is looking to step up. He's looking to be there and then of course don't forget you have the brother of Sean Neal's, which is Dylan, who came over from Nashville. He's looking to step up and do his thing. We'll see how that happens. But I'm still thinking it's going to be a pretty solid line defensively. It's the midfield that I'm more concerned about. Sean Davis, he had that leadership qualities that a lot of people either did not see or did not want to see, that pretty much held the team together, okay, during that stretch run. He cleaned up a lot of messes that would have wound up as disastrous that led up into losses. And you know how they pretty much held it together with like 1-goal wins. It usually wind up with like 1-goal losses in the tournament. He was instrumental in that turnaround. But now he's gone. He went to Nashville, and now you'll have guys like Amaya and you have Amaya or Yearwood. Now here's the thing: can both of those guys, especially Amaya, can step up in that role? Can they do it? That there's no one holding him back now. Up front, we have Luquinas, and of course, we have James Hark. He's back. Thanks, thanks. Like, is are we going to see the pre surgery for surgery? I'm going to see more of the same. If we're seeing more of the is appendix Caden Clark, I think we're going to do just fine. If we're seeing after, so he's got to step up in that role. Caceres, I think he'll be there, but I want to see him step up his game to become a force in the midfield, and that just leaves, the forwards. Okay, we have. I hate saying this, but I said this last night. I'm going to stick myself to it. It's all about how Patrick Kamala, really steps up here. He had his first year. Of course, people struggle after their first year. Everyone's expecting him to score about 20 goals this year. We'll see. But it all depends on how the four in that diamond is going to operate in the midfield. If they're able to be solid throughout the years, gentlemen, I think you're going to see a much different team where they're going to be a constant threat to get 3 points every competition they play. And it all depends on them. If they can able to get the ball forward and allow Luquinas and excuse me, I haven't had my coffee yet, and Patrick Kamala to become a threat, we're looking at a very different team. But it all depends on what happens up in the offensive midfield, and can Amaya step up where Sean Davis excelled? I mean, he didn't do. I mean, for the most fans, he didn't do great, but saved us in a lot of games. That's what I'm looking at. Overall, I see this team ending up finishing no better than probably 4th, 5th, or 6th. Any one of those three, they'll be in the hunt for the playoffs. This organization has only missed the playoffs in their history 4 times. That's it. 4 times. That's a 96 percentile making the playoffs, because you can't win MLS Cup if you're not in the playoffs. So that's simple. The last time they finished dead last, where some of the prognosticators have pegged this team this year, and again last year, and again this year. Last time they finished dead last, gentlemen, was 2009. That was before Red Bull Arena was even constructed. So this is why I've said even last night that making the playoffs, the expectation of making the playoffs for this organization is a given. It's pretty much mandatory. I mean, you have with so many ways to actually get there, you need to make the playoffs. If I feel a coach didn't have his team make the playoffs, he should be sacked. Plain and simple. I mean, how can with the talent that you've amassed, there's no way you can win the win to make the playoffs. However, once there, I'm expecting silverware, and that's how I'm not sure how other fans are accepting, but that's how I am. I'm like, okay, get us some silverware, get us something. Okay, I don't care if it's a conference title, don't care if it's a supporter shield, don't care if it's MLS Cup, don't care if it's US Open Cup. Get us some silverware. Anything short of that, at least to me, is a failure. Something went wrong there. You didn't build your team enough, whatever the case may be. There are ways where you can able to walk out the season with silverware and make it to CCL, and that's how I feel about it. But I do see this team finishing anywhere between 5th to 7th. This is a good side, despite the hand wringing and people are walking away because there's no big stars. You don't need big stars to win. You need a deep and solid team from front to back, and of course on the bench to win championships. Every MLS side has done it. This organization has yet to figure it out.
Yeah.
Looking at, well,
we mentioned earlier, actually, Gary, you said about what the pundit said. What I was saying, next team proves them wrong every single year. In 2015, no one picked us to make the playoffs. We won Sporting Shield. In 2018, no one had us as their picked to win Sporting Shield. Even on the final day, everyone like, oh, Atlanta will win it. We won Sporting Shield. Last season, no one gave us any chance of making the playoffs. We made the playoffs. This team does it in its sleep to prove people wrong. And it will do that again and again and again, as long as they keep disproving, as long as they keep predicting us badly. Because what do you think about this team? This team makes playoffs. Because if you don't make the playoffs, I agree with you, you should be sacked. Because this is a team.
That's simple. I mean,
one of the most powerful sports market in the world. This is a New York sports market. This team needs to win trophies. People don't understand how this is the most powerful sports market in the world.
I don't think you can get anyone to disagree with that. And this is the crust of their argument. And that's probably the reason why a lot of folks are not buying tickets right now. I hate to say this, but I'm going to. They don't feel engaged. They don't feel energized. They look at the roster and they go, okay, who are these guys? I've never seen these guys, never heard about these guys, except maybe from the guys of last year. But when you take a look at other rosters, they've brought in big names. Now, there's no guarantee they're going to win with them. Okay, take a look at NYCFC. Their chief rivals, and they don't have, other than maybe Tati Castellanos and Maxi Morales. That's it. I mean, they have a very deep bench. They have guys that can come in and do the job, and that's something that I'm looking for this team to do. But we play in the shadow of the New York market. Okay, this is a city where, just like over in London, you need to be seen and be seen. So people come here not just for the sport. People come here just to, be entertained. I hate to say it, but that is what it is. And when you look at a roster that doesn't scream out, hey, mates, I want to buy out tickets for my friend, my boss, and everybody, everybody in my neighborhood to go see these chaps play, and you don't see that, it kind of, leaves fans underwhelmed right now. And that's just it. There's no engagement. There's no buzz. There's no excitement other than Luquinas. And we have yet to see how these guys are going to work together as one. But then again, that's the beauty of Major League Soccer, gentlemen. No one can predict who's going to win MLS Cup. No one. Okay. Even some of the most great experts out there, and I know some of them, no one had any idea that NYCFC was going to win the whole thing last year. Nobody. They came out of the blue. They won the games that was in front of them, and lo and behold, they're the ones with the star above their crest. So this is the reason why most fans feel, regardless of the roster, they feel some sort of twinge of optimism, because if teams like Atlanta, who's been in the league 2 years and got that done, NYCFC has been in the league 6 years and got that done, and so on. This is one of the original MLS clubs since '96 that has had one appearance in MLS Cup. One. And that was in 2008. Since, and of course they have to win the Western Conference Championship to get there. We're not going to talk about that. But still, you can win this title if you have a team that is deep enough with a very good, healthy mix of veterans and young kids. One thing that we can say about Red Bull, they know how to do their development. They know how to bring, young players into the game. I don't think you're going to have anyone complaining too much about that. They're doing at least half of that right. The other half is they got to keep their veteran players around. They can actually string them to win championships. And then, and only then, you're going to see Red Bull Arena filled up, just like you have that little picture behind you, Luke. Well, it used to be back in the day. But
there will be again soon. Let's say that.
There will be again. It will be again soon. Will be again soon. But right now, things are not going too well as far as the organization is concerned.
Eventually, I was pretty sure to say that eventually this team will win MLS Cup.
Of course.
It will come.
Hopefully
people might think, people
will
say,
alive to see it, but okay.
People say it won't come. It will come. Eventually they'll win MLS Cup. I once made a reference about the Cavs winning World Series. I got told up by Anthony Mercer. He said, "Don't use that because it took them too many years to win a World Series again." But it will come eventually, and then once you win something, like New York is a winning teams. You have to be winning trophies, or people don't want to know. Pretty much.
Well, that's
Like,
pretty much it. I mean, it's one thing being born and raised in the very area where they play. Plain and simple, we love winners. Okay, it's win a championship of any particular sport. You're celebrated like no other organizational person other. That's why most athletes come to New York in the first place. We are the city of the big stage. We are
yeah,
the city of the big lights. Second to that will be Los Angeles. And you see how they treat their superstars and you see how they treat their champions. They're out there, and everywhere. So kudos to NYCFC. They got it done. Red Bull fans are when is their turn, when is their time. And to put it in perspective, gentlemen, when I started seeing games when they were known as the Metro Stars, I used to come to the games with 10 people deep. It was a thing. We used to go find our way to Giant Stadium through a dingy Port Authority bus terminal just to see, games, just to see a little footy. Now it's 2022. I am the only representative of that 10-member crew left. Okay. Year after year, losing season after losing season, and that's just it. When we're talking about losing seasons, we're not talking about being in last place. Like I said, the last time this team has been in last place was 2009, but it's more of the little engine that could. They try to get there, but then if they do something wrong organizationally, they slide about 6 6 feet stop. People want to see a constant progression on the top. They want to see this team finish in first place and got knocked out. Great. Then we want to see something more than that. We want to challenge for the conference title. Okay, got the conference title, got knocked out in MLS Cup. Season after that, they want to see you actually had win MLS Cup. And up until 2018, that was the progression. People were excited. People were actually looking forward to saying, "Hey, okay, we didn't get it done this year, but wait till next year." And then something went wrong.
yeah,
Instead of going ahead, they went backwards. And this is the
That
state.
that's something is currently sat on Manchester United's coaching bench.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun when this is what I want the Red Bulls to do. I want to go back to 2018, go back to contending. This is what is going to wake fans up. If they see you trying to win a championship and die trying, people will notice. Names or not, people are going to notice.
yeah,
But when they start seeing boring soccer season after season and then they're not getting it done, people are going to stay away, man. People are not going to buy tickets. People are not going to make that trip. And there are Red Bull MetroStar fans everywhere. In reality, it should be filled up 85% on match days. But it isn't because they see the product on the TV, they see it on the websites, they see it in Twitter, they see people complain about the tickets and no names and yada yada yada. I would like this organization to flip the script, hit the button. I mean, I wish it was that easy, and then get going and get fans excited again. That's what needs to happen now. They need to get fans energized because it's no longer, especially in light of NYCFC, they have to shine. The spotlight is on them, and it's going to be on them. And I hate to see it. As much as we like to pride ourselves saying New York is red, I'm sorry, New York is blue until Red Bulls get a trophy, win a championship. There's just no way around it. The blue tsunami, we are now swimming in the blue tsunami. I hate to say it. That city is theirs until further notice, until the Red Bulls get their act together. And until that happens, gentlemen, the city belongs to NYCFC, in my opinion.
We will agree with that through very gritted teeth. Looking again at Saturday and at San Jose Earthquakes, obviously they lost Chris Wondo due to retirement,
Yeah.
but they managed to retain last year's top goal scorer, Javier Lopez, who managed 12 goals. They've brought in Jeremy Abobasi, a really exciting young American. And then they've strengthened their defence with Nathan from Zurich and with Francisco Calvo from Chicago. And they've added to their midfield as well. Where do you think San Jose causes problems this year and on Saturday?
This is why I said it was a pretty much even game. Their midfield is stacked. Their offense is stacked. The only area of weakness, defense. Where are the goals? They're in the same position as the New York Red Bulls. Where the goals are going to come from? This is why we said this is going to be a pretty even game because despite the pieces, who's going to miss first? Is it going to be New York Red Bull, who had some games together and mostly losing, or San Jose, who are pretty much in the same boat as us? But it's going to be how should I put it? A sloppy rock fight because this is the very first game they're going to be playing together where it counts. So I'm not expecting any lights out performance by either side. It's more of a who will make the least mistakes going into that game. So that's why it's going to be a pretty even game. I'm looking at a draw. We'll get a goal. They'll get a goal. We'll see what happens from there. But when you look at both sides, I'm giving San Jose the edge because they'll be playing at home. They're going to be playing their home opener. Their fans are going to be jacked. Wondolowski basically was their lightning rod. Everything went through him. That was the good thing, and that was also the bad thing. Was the number one thing that held that team back. I spoke to a lot of San Jose fans. They didn't want him particularly gone, but they want the team to move on from him a little sooner. And when you have a coach that publicly complains on why his team isn't festooned with big stars and big players and difference makers, that sounds familiar, doesn't it? Sound, chaps, when you had those names and stuff like that. That's why when you look at San Jose, when you look at New York, you're basically looking at each other in the mirror and wondering, okay, who's going to make the least mistakes? Yeah. This is what I'm going to be looking at on Saturday.
So Gary says 1-1. I'm going to take that you said 1-1. I was going to go for funnily enough, I was going to go 0-0. I just at the minute.
I don't think it's going to be scoreless, Scott, but I do think they're going to get theirs. They're going to get theirs. Yeah. We're going to get ours. I mean, when you're talking about teams with so defenses, ours due to injuries, theirs because they got a bunch of new guys. Mm-hmm. Anything can happen, but that is the beauty of MLS. It is such an unpredictable league. It's not funny. Unlike the Prem, where you can just circle 4 or 5 clubs that you know that's going to be in the top when it's all said and done. Here, you lose your money. I'm sorry. You take any bet, you're going to lose your money because anything can happen, and that's probably the excitement of the league, and this is probably the reason why I love it so much.
Yeah,
Luke, what's your prediction for Saturday?
I'll be the positive. Most of the time, man.
At least I'm neutral. I'm like, okay, I'm not for you, none against you.
I'll go 2-1 win with Tom Barlow scoring the winner.
Oh, see, now you're daft. The only time the man scores when you married his sweetheart. Congratulations.
Anyone who knows me saying Tom Barlow scored a winner knows I'm actually feeling really positive. I'm not Tom Barlow's biggest fan. I'll be honest. It's definitely very good.
If that happens, I'll send you out. I would personally send you some champagne just for that promote. Just for that. Well, if that ever happens, like okay, 1 case of champagne on the loose.
It costs a lot of money to cook customs.
Oh yeah, it's going to cost us money, gentlemen. Always glad to see you guys. Keep up the good work. We will see you guys soon. Hopefully on this side of the pond, and as we take on the game together. Good to be back, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Gary. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Catch you very soon. Right. Episode 1 and done. Very, very glad to be back. Very, very happy to have Luke back chatting with me about the wonders of New York Red Bulls. And we're really excited to be giving you a real top quality content once more. I'd like to hope you've missed us because we've missed you. And Luke, anything to say before we draw to a close?
I think it's about everything, is it? Great to be back. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time.
We shall. Right. Thank you and goodbye.